You guys caught me. I have been painting again, and it has been a great joy to paint this picture and to be able to worship God, listening to some music and just to paint by worship. And I've already done a bunch of different layers, but I wanted to bring you in for the last layer, and you guys can enjoy this journey with me. So enjoy. So on this painting, I painted these first orange trees in the back here. There's a bunch of them with on top of a gradient that I had put together with golden open paints. They're open, they last a long time, they don't dry immediately. So you can blend them really nicely. On top of that, I actually put a white wash. You can sort of see it, I'm not sure how it's whiter over here and yellow over here, a white wash to give a kind of a foggy effect. And then I painted the pink trees and across the way using the gradient as well as a point of reference for where they blend into the ground. Then I did another white wash. When I was doing that one, I also did the final gradient, which was the pink all the way down into the purple here at the bottom. And then on top of that I did a black, and it's maybe hard to see, but this is pure black, and then the black actually gets mixed with a little bit of blue as you go along to create a bit of a variance in the trees. One thing that if you're going to do silhouettes, the silhouettes are always the darkest in front of the bright light, so that's why these are the darkest and these ones are not. And then as I put the snow colors on, which is going to be various shades of blue and some yellow highlights, we will see that the whites end up being more on the sides that are closer to the light, and the darks will be more on the opposite side. So without further ado, let's get started. So my first color is a mixture of mostly ultramarine blue, some white, and a little bit of black to create a little bit more of a gray effect than ultramarine comes out of the tube. And that will be the base blue on these trees. Just creating the illusion that there is some dark undertones of snow on these branches here. I want to cover up the black. We also want to make sure that we are leaving lots of space for other colors, and so it doesn't get overcolored. I want to keep the back stuff. So I decided that I wanted this particular tree to be the one that's on top. It's the tallest, so it's going to be above these other ones. You can see how it just brings the whole piece together as soon as you soften the black a little bit with the blue. I really like how it tones down some of the black. One of my personal favorites is always the high contrast things. A lot of my pieces have higher than maybe normal contrasts, but I always like high contrast. But this is important to tone it down a little bit. You still get the contrast, but you're also able to create really nice tree effects. So you can start seeing that right away, is how that makes that tree stand out with the blues. I really like the blue contrasting with the more warm colors in the background. I'm going to start leaving a little bit more black on the right hand side. We're not going to put the blue quite all the way to the edge of the branches because we want that effect. Where the darkers are on the right and the white is on the left. This is the darkest color, so we are going to go reasonably far into the right side, but not too much. Actually, I want this one to be in the front. So I'm going to do this one first before I finish the right hand side of the previous tree here. Just a little bit like that. And a slight blue. blue to that piece. Now I want this tree to be on the top, so I'm going to do that one first, then I'll come back and do these ones here. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but this is the same blue that I did on the left hand side, but because the black section or the dark section is not quite as rich black, the contrast is not quite as strong, so it may not be coming through on the camera. But it's there. It's nice and subtle. And it will become more distinguished when we add the highlights or the lighter colors of this. Which will actually just be the same blue, just added a little bit more ultramarine blue and a little bit more white. Alright, so now we're going to do these two trees and those ones in the back there. And snow is usually pretty clumpy, so you don't have to be too precise on this one. As we get further down on these ones, we will do a little bit less paint, a little bit more of the dark. And that is your blue. Now this is what I really like about acrylic paints and using the combination of open paints and regular traditional acrylics is the traditional acrylics are dry already. The open paints take a couple hours, so the open paints are really good for blending. The acrylic paints are really nice for doing multiple layers where you're layering on top of layers. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue to the same paint that I was just using and a bit more white to allow for a lighter version of that same color. We don't want it too light, but we do want it quite a bit lighter, so we're working our way up towards almost white. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be a little bit sparser yet on where our strokes go. We want the blue and the black to come through now. So this is kind of like a highlight on top. We'll have the tendency to keep it more on the upper side of the branches of the needles. And again, we will get sparser as we go down, keeping in mind where our light source is coming from. You start getting a nice tree effect. As we move further away from the light, we will do less and less on the right again. Even to the point of concentrating dominantly on the left. As long as you remember where your light source comes from, just be free with your strokes. Don't go where they end up. Beauty of creation, of what God has made, is in the uniqueness and the perfection of the imperfection. Even looking at a human face, both sides are never the same, and a face that actually has the same on both sides actually tends to look quite funny when you paint it or draw it. There we go. We're going to add one more, maybe two more layers. The next layer is going to be almost white. Final layer, I may add some pure white or bright yellow highlights. It's going to be even more sparse. probably only even on the tops of the trees. Just highlights. I think I'm going to add just a few dots of pure white. And I think we're done. And I think that completes the piece. I'm happy with that. It's got the nice contrast and it looks overall exactly what I was hoping for. And we're done.